Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to my channel. My name is Joanna. If this is your first time seeing me, watching this, hearing this material, I am thankful for you being here. And my intention is to help you expand your consciousness, to help you redefine your own assumed position of who you think you are based on what you believe and based on what you hold as true. And this ultimately leads to one place and one place only, although it's not a place, it's a state of awareness. And it leads to the awareness that you are all powerful, immensely powerful, in fact. So powerful, in fact, that you are terrified of being you. And that comment can be understood in many ways. I'm going to leave it for now just to sit there for a moment. But if your idea of you is based purely on your understanding that you have about yourself right now, then you are robbing yourself of this incredible powerfulness and powerful healing and creating abilities. And we all have it within us, whether you like it or not, whether you choose to believe it or not, whether you choose to express it or not, which will depend heavily on what you believe. You can decide what you want to do with this understanding. And what it simply means is this: you, I, everyone is very powerful. And we contain this innate power within us. We may not always know it. We may not always remember. Hey, many times we deny ourselves this power. All for one reason and one reason only while we are in this earth, and that is to belong. Create a sense of belonging so that we fit in this physical world. Yet this physical world is true creation of the power that you and I and everyone is contained within them. And this power is immense. It goes way beyond the typical human understanding. But we are on a path of ascension. And what that simply means is that we are in a space and time in our own human evolution where we are beginning to transcend the beliefs that we are used to holding on to, in order not only to express ourselves in a much greater way, but to ultimately help shift human consciousness. So if you are here listening to this, there is a part of you, consciously or otherwise, that is ultimately looking for that. You are looking for ways to come out of your current conditioned confinement in order so that you can see yourself from a different perspective, and from that much greater perspective, you choose or allow yourself to create perhaps a different life for yourself. And your life, my life, your neighbor's life, is a in essence, byproduct of our creation, co-creation. We co-create with the universe. We co-create with the power that created all of this and you and I. Therefore, if we are part of this power that created all of this, then that simply means that we too are part of this power. We contain this power within us. And by having this power within us, by innately having this power, we are powerful creators. So if for some reason you do not believe that you are a powerful creator, then what you are essentially doing is you are denying yourself this power. How? By believing what you believe. Essentially speaking, if you believe you are not powerful, then that means that you are denying who you really are. Now, why on earth would you want to deny yourself your powerfulness? That makes no sense. After all, aren't many people, or maybe most, are looking to be powerful or empowered? You already are. You just don't remember. And the purpose of this transmission is to help you remember how you forget that you are this power. Essentially, is to communicate to you information that will trigger a certain something within you that says, oh, who is it that I am being? Who is it that I am expressing myself as? And would I choose to experience myself in a different way? And if you are used to expressing yourself in limited ways, then you cannot create life that is less limited. You are creating life and experience for yourself that is limited. And when you create from this limited space, you are essentially a limited creator. But creation has no limits. Creation is everything. So if you exclude yourself from this idea that you are part of everything and that you can create from that unlimited space, if you conclude that you are not that you are less than, then you are absolutely, unequivocally so creating from a limited space. If you had an opportunity where there were many choices in front of you, and then another opportunity where there were no choices, or maybe one or two, which opportunity would you choose? Would you choose one with just one or two options, or would you choose one with unlimited options or far greater amount of options, if we can't use that word? Likely is that you would choose this scenario with a lot more options. Yet for most people, that's not what we choose. We choose the experiences with limited options. And the reason why we choose, and it's not a conscious choosing, but the reason why we choose to be in a space of limited options, because we on some level believe that we are limited. Therefore, if you limit yourself with regards to what you are creating, then you will absolutely create a limited experience for yourself. So today's transmission is about helping you discover ways in how you limit yourself so that it becomes conscious. And by it becoming conscious, it becomes something that you can choose to shift or transform into something else. If you have no way of knowing how you limit yourself, then you have no way of shifting those limitations, changing those limitations into something that's far greater, that's far less limited. And I channeled a very powerful content, that's 4 or 5 pages, on the idea of miracles and God and all of that. And it's a very, very powerful channeled content. If you are signed up for my newsletter, then you will receive something in your email box, in your mailbox in the next few days with this channeled material. It's very powerful. So if you are not part of the Joanna's circle, if you will, there's a link down below that will take you to a site where you can sign up for my newsletter. And if you are interested in receiving more channeled content or extra messages from the universe, then sign up and get yourself set up. But for those of you who are not interested in gaining more awareness of who you are, you can just be here with the YouTube channel, and that will also offer you some, I believe, powerful ways to look at yourself. So here's a scenario for you. It is widely accepted that when a baby is being born, we say miracle is happening. So we are terming the birth of a child as a miracle. Not only is it the act of birthing a miracle, the child is the miracle. So you and I and pretty much everyone else on some level has been thought of as a miracle, which in fact you are. So if that is the case, if we are a miracle, if we are born as a miracle, at what point do we stop being the miracle that we are? At what point do we begin to deny ourselves of this miracle being who we are? The moment where we begin to understand through our experiences, and those experiences, through these experiences, we arrive at a certain meaning. And this is where the concept of you and I and everyone involved begins to form and shape. And it is through the forming and shaping of the concept of you that for most people, we begin to deny the truth of who we really are. Now, does that mean that when you deny your truth of who you are, you stop being that? No. It simply means you're in denial of it. You deny yourself this aspect of you. Now, why on earth would you want to deny yourself aspect of you that is all powerful? That makes no sense. It simply is a byproduct of conditioning. So you have your own unique sets of conditionings that by which you describe yourself to you, and you stick to it, and it becomes your identity. It becomes the you that navigates the 3D world. But make no mistake, You are a miracle at work. And that means that you are not only capable, but it's innately within you that you create miracles or can create miracles each and every day. In fact, you create miracles each and every day. You just don't see it that way. It's because you don't see yourself as a miracle. So here's a question for you. If you deem yourself less than the miracle that you are, and you don't believe that you are a miracle, which is powerful, then how do you deem yourself? What do you deem yourself to be other than a miracle? And that is a question you might want to ask yourself, because whatever you deem yourself limits you. Now, we have to have certain understandings in order to navigate through the 3D world. But the more we begin to look within ourselves, the more we begin to see and find all the limitations we put on ourselves that limit our experiences, that limit our ability to create more profound experiences. And the moment we begin to see those limitations, which generally, in my experience, happens through shadow work, the moment you begin to see your shadows is the moment where you are literally rediscovering your miracle. You're beginning to see the shadow for what it is, which is an illusion, and you begin to see yourself beyond that illusion of your shadow. Because you're not your shadow. Shadow is not who you are or what you are. But if we express ourselves through our shadows, we express ourselves often through fear. And have you ever seen an animal that's very fearful? If you haven't, you can probably imagine. An animal that's very fearful often wants to hide. It wants to find the tiniest little corner to bury itself in so that it's invisible, so that it cannot be seen. Because then it might somehow escape the inevitable, which is death. And we humans often do that without even knowing that we are doing so. We tuck ourselves in our little corners just to escape whatever it is that we fear. And in the process of doing so, we, in many ways, make ourselves to be invisible. But you're not here to be invisible. In fact, you're here to be seen. You are here to help shift planet's consciousness. And you are here to shine. How much you allow yourself to shine will depend on how you qualify yourself. If you deem yourself anything less than a miracle worker, then you are denying yourself your own inner light, which is powerful. And you are also robbing others from the magnificence of your light. You're not here to hide, yet that is what we do a lot of the time. And we do this primarily out of survival. And survival is based on our first 3 chakras. It's the part of our bodies, physical bodies, that are responsible, if you will, for our physical human survival, which we need in order to live. But if we express ourselves purely from that limited space, then we're not really thriving, are we? We are merely surviving. And you didn't come here just to survive. Of course, survival is part of this equation. And in order to thrive, you need to survive, but you have come here to thrive, to grow, to expand. So look at the way that you limit yourself, by the way you see yourself, by the labels you assign to yourself, by the limitation you put on yourself. And even if the outside environment is putting these limitations on you, you always have a choice to accept it or not accept it. You have a choice to accept it as part of your truth or as not part of your truth. And that choice always belongs to you. It's just that we're not always aware of it. We're not always aware of making that choice. And the key to ascension, to transcending our current state of awareness, our current state of beingness, our current state of human consciousness, is through awareness. Here's what they're wanting me to say. They're asking me to say. Don't be afraid of being big. Instead, be afraid of staying small. And that's because when you stay small, you're essentially in a prison or in your own confinement. And that does not offer you a lot of freedom. It keeps you stuck in this space of limitation. And you didn't come here into this 3D life in order to limit yourself. In fact, you came for the opposite reason. You came to create. So if you deem yourself to be a limited being, then you are deeming yourself to be a limited creator, which is denying the truth of what is. Here's a question for you. When did you stop being a miracle? When you began to understand yourself through your experiences, which then created a meaning that arose within you, and it began to create the concept of you. Yet you are more than merely a concept, aren't you? I have recorded 2023 messages, call them predictions, I don't like that word, that are very powerful and that were designed to help you look at underneath of who you are, to help you see more of your inner truth, to help you uncover your own unlimited potential and your own power. And if you haven't yet got yourself those, there's a link down below for those of you who have already got them and thanked me and thanked my guides, because it's really my team. I'm just a mouthpiece. For commenting how these messages are extraordinarily helpful. Thank you. Thank you for that. It helps me to know that I am doing what I am supposed to do. So today we're going to talk about your own conditioning, your belief systems, and how these particular belief systems stand in your own way of expressing your unlimitedness. So I have 3 piles. The way I have chosen to do it this week is to have your specific chakra give us a message. So I will go through each pile. Each pile will have a specific chakra. There's 3 piles. Whichever one you are guided to first, intuitively, is generally where you will get the most important message. Not always, but generally. But it should not prevent you from looking at the other messages, because chances are there's likely something there for you. Because these messages, although they may feel and seem like personal messages to you, which is what I get a lot of the time, these are also universal, which means they can apply to anyone at any given time. It's just a matter of, are you able to receive the message at this particular time or not? And my work as Joanna, as the avatar Joanna, is to help you refine your own understanding of you. And a lot of it is based on you trusting your own intuition, moving from your head to more into the space of your heart. That doesn't mean you get rid of your logic. You need it, but it means that there is a greater balance between your mind and your heart, so that you can embody your greatness rather than just have a concept of being greatness. And hopefully, if you're listening to this type of material, then you at least have this idea. You've heard the idea that you too are greatness. You are part of all that is. You are part of the powerfulness that has created you. You are a part of it. Therefore, if you are a part of this greatness, if you are part of this powerfulness, then that means that within you, you contain this greatness, you contain this power. Yet, many of you, including myself, has a tendency to deny this. And when we deny something that is a part of who we are, we cannot embody it. You cannot embody something you don't accept about yourself. So let us go through each pile. This is going to be a message for pile number 1. We have the sacral chakra. We have patience and planning in reverse. And we have emotional challenges, resolve the issue. The sacral chakra is our creativity center. Okay? It's the second chakra, right above the first chakra, the root chakra, which is primarily to do with our survival. So for those of you who are drawn to pile number 1, there's a likelihood, a very high likelihood, that there are some old frequencies, old energies that are limiting the creative part of you. The sacral chakra often refers to the idea of motherhood, anything to do with a mother, with creation. And for you, pile number 1, I feel this is where you're stuck. There are some stuck energies that is limiting your creation. And when I talk about creation, I'm talking about creation of life. Okay? This center often deals with issues around abandonment, fear of abandonment, fear of being left alone, being left behind, fears of not being accepted, which will absolutely affect your ability to create to the fullest. And I'm clearly hearing the word mom. So, at least in my experience, I have seen many clients having some old challenges repeating themselves as it relates to the idea of mom or of your mother. So you might have some inner conflict between you and your mother that hasn't been resolved yet. You may be stuck on the idea of motherhood itself. There is something there. Perhaps you don't believe that you can be or that you are a good mother. The idea is believe. And what you believe is always up to you, but we are not always conscious of that. So if you believe that you are not a good mother, or somehow you would not make a good mother, or somehow you are afraid of becoming a mother, then the question is why? Where is this coming from? Because you are an incredible being. You can be anything you want. And you are created with the idea of having an immense power. And your creation is, for the most part, up to you. The universe co-creates, but you are part of this co-creation process. So perhaps there's a part of you, there's a belief in you that says that you are not a powerful creator. Now, why would you believe that? If you are part of this immense creation that is everything, and you are part of it, then that makes you part of this power, doesn't it? And what you do with this creative power is absolutely up to you. Here's the deal. If you don't know, or if you don't understand how you limit your creative power, you are going to be creating from a very limited space. Okay. Also, when you are creating from a limited space, it will affect how much love you have to give or receive, because it'll affect all the other centers as well. Your solar plexus, your heart chakra, your throat, your third eye, your crown. So pile number one, it would behoove you to look at how you limit yourself, especially these days. What do you consume in terms of media that tells you who you are and who you are not? Now here's a question. Will you choose to believe that? Will you choose to believe what you are being told by the media, whatever that means? Or will you choose to pause and ask yourself, do I want to be part of this fear? Do I want to experience this fear within me? Because if you are consuming fear-based media, for example, then you are putting fear within yourself. You are willingly choosing to bring that fearful energy into your being and make it be a part of you. Now, you're not doing this consciously. That's why media is so powerful. Because we consume without even realizing what it is that we are consuming. And furthermore, we don't realize that we have a choice whether we consume it or not. So it's just like having to eat a certain food that wouldn't serve you. If you ate something that you knew gave you a stomach ache and you ate it willingly, then you cannot complain or be mad at the universe because you're experiencing stomach ache. You chose to consume something that was not good for you. And how do you know when something is not good for you? More often than not, you feel it. But if you are not in tune with your body, you're not going to know that. You're not going to be aware of how your body is communicating to you by saying, no, this is not for me. Why? Because we are mostly in our heads. Okay. So pile number 1, your sacral chakra is asking you to connect more with your body, to connect more with how you feel, to help you see yourself in a different way. And one way to know how you see yourself right now is to ask yourself, how do I feel about myself? How do I feel about myself? And be honest. If overall the way you feel about yourself is good, I'm a powerful creator, I'm good, I am a miracle worker, but today I'm having an off day. That's okay, it's just a day that's off. And then you move on to having this awareness, then that's a very healthy, balanced way to be in this world. On the other hand, if you feel about yourself in terms of lack, I can't do this, I can't do that, I don't have this, I'm not supposed to have that, then you are creating from a space of lack and limitation. And if you continue to do that, especially if it's in unconscious ways, that's why consciousness and awareness is key, you will continue to create life in limited ways, which means you will be experiencing a lot more limitations than maybe what you are wanting to. Okay? Patience and planning. What I'm getting here is a feeling of instability and a lot of irritation. And although this instability may very well be dictated by what's on the outside, what's really happening is that this outside instability is pointing you to within in order to recognize your own inner instability. Now again, this is not to say that there are moments in life where we are not supposed to experience a little bit of confusion. It's all part of human experience. But if within your own self you have a perpetuating feeling or awareness of inner instability, in other words, you're not stable on the inside, then that will absolutely be reflected out into the world. So one of the ways that you can ensure that you create more stable, more solid life in your life, you have to look at your own inner conflict that creates this inner instability. And this process takes time. You know the saying, Rome was not built overnight. It takes patience, dedication, compassion for yourself, love for yourself, acceptance of yourself fully and wholeheartedly. Why? Because everything that is within you, however limited, is still part of God. It's an expression of God force through you. And the moment you begin to see it that way, the level of limitation begins to lessen. This is where the miracle begins to happen. You begin to see yourself for the powerfulness that you are, not for the limitations that you deem yourself to be, and therefore creating from that space. Okay. Emotional challenges. This is asking you, suggesting, to look at your own reflection. What do you see when you look at yourself? Do you see a beautiful being standing there, immensely powerful and full of light? Or do you merely see yourself as the body and the skin and the feelings and the emotions that you are experiencing? And the reality is you're both. You're both powerful and immensely bright. And you are also experiencing limited feelings and emotions. And that's the paradox of life, that you are both powerful and can feel powerless, both at the same time. The idea here is that when you begin to see both taking place at the same time, it then becomes a choice, doesn't it? Do I choose to see myself as a powerful, lit up being, or do I choose to see myself as the emotions or feelings that I'm experiencing? And that choice begins with you, belongs to you. That is not to say that it is easy. Of course it's not easy. When the entire world is telling you that you are not the power that created you, all of a sudden to see yourself as such is quite a lot to ask for. Nonetheless, this is the higher truth. And when you begin to see this higher truth within you, you begin to create your life differently. You begin to realize that the smallness that you are experiencing is in part you choosing to keep yourself or to remain small, generally for the purpose of belonging. And in my experience, whenever I deal with someone who has fears around not belonging, including myself, it almost always leads to one thing, one place in particular. And that is not seeing yourself as you are, and rather seeing yourself as a limitation and therefore rejecting yourself and living at odds with yourself. Because when we reject ourselves, when we live at odds with ourselves, we often feel like something is missing. Yet nothing is missing. You're just choosing not to see it. And that's a choice. So what are you not choosing to see as yourself? Let me rephrase. What are you choosing yourself to see as that keeps you limited? And what would you rather see yourself as in order to create from more unlimited space? This is the question you might want to ask yourself. It's an important one, especially these days. And that's because we are in this higher frequency where higher awareness becomes much more readily available to us. And the more you see yourself as the power that you are, and the more you see the illusions of what you think you are, the more you begin to reclaim your own freedom, inner freedom. And that's very powerful. So this is a message for you, pile number 1. Let's see what we have for you, pile number 2. We have the solar plexus. So it's all showing up in reverse. All this is saying to me is that there is some shadow work to be addressed in your solar plexus. And your solar plexus is your power center. This is the space from where you express yourself into 3D reality. In other words, if this part of your being, if this chakra is balanced, you express yourself powerfully. If this chakra is out of balance, or if it's muted, if you will express yourself in limited ways. If it's overactive, you will become someone who gets power into their heads. Okay, so it's not balanced. Underactive, overactive, that's the shadow. We're looking for balance. So there's some balancing that needs to take place in chakra number 3. It has to do a lot with your identity. How you identify with yourself. For example, if you identify with yourself as small, and this is not, generally speaking, this is not something that is in your awareness, in your conscious awareness. This is usually deep, hence shadow. So if you identify yourself as small, for example, because at some point in your life you needed to keep yourself small in order to avoid confrontation, for example, then your ability to express yourself powerfully will be minimized. You will not allow yourself to create big. You will be holding yourself back. Okay? For some of you, I keep seeing writing, and then you're not happy with it, and then you chuck it up. And then you're writing again, and you're not happy with it. And I'm getting the sense that whatever it is that you try to do, you're just not happy with it. It's almost like it's not enough. Whatever you're doing is not enough. And there's a sense of frustration with it. And the question I want to pose to you, if you resonate with this message, is, what does enough look like? Do you believe that you are not enough? Okay. If that's the case, let's not deny that. It's important. But if you believe that you are not enough, which will affect how you show up in the world and what you will allow yourself to express and to bring to you, then what is enough mean to you? What is enough? What would enough look like? I just heard I would be more popular. Okay. And that's just an example. So let's examine that. If you believe that being popular deems you enough, is that true? Because you can be popular for all the wrong reasons. Doesn't mean whether you're enough or not enough. It just means your interaction with the world is in such a way that you become popular. Okay? You become whatever the word is. So some of you in pile number 2 have an identity part of you that says, I'm not enough. On the other hand, if you deem yourself not enough and you have something to offer to the world, you're not going to do that. And therefore, that is going to not allow you to be popular. Now, the idea of popular is not a destination for people. That's not the point here. The point here is popular meaning to be seen. If you deem yourself not enough, you will simply not allow yourself to be seen, and that will include your creation, and therefore your creation will not be seen. So if you're a powerful healer, for example, and you deem yourself not enough, and this powerful healing ability has the potential to help many, many people, or make you popular, you will not allow yourself to express these healing abilities because you will constantly try to be looking for validation. You will be creating from a lackful space. Now remember, you are a powerful being. Once you realize that you are creating from a powerful space, you can choose to create from a different space. But you cannot choose unless you are aware that this is the space from which you are creating. And for the most part, this awareness will come through as a result of doing shadow work. Okay? Look at this. Victory and success. So here's what I want to say, pile number 2. Your success is almost inevitable. Inevitable, which means it's very likely to happen. The question is, do you believe it? Do you believe it? Do you believe that you can be successful? And by the way, you already are. So the first thing you might want to do is ask yourself, what is my belief around success? What does success mean to me? Everybody's idea of success is different, aside from the obvious, power and money. What's your idea of success? You have something to offer to the world. That goes without saying. Everyone does, but particularly pile number 2. You have something to offer to the world, and I'm hearing for a lot of you it has to do with healing abilities and communication. Okay, some level of communication that comes from some deep knowing. You have a lot of knowledge within you. So if you believe that you are small or not enough, you will not be tapping into this knowledge, number 1. Number 2, if you won't allow yourself to tap into this knowledge unconsciously, then you will not be able to perceive this knowledge on a conscious level and then express it to the world. You're not going to be able to do that. And you have come equipped into this world with a lot of gifts. Remember, you're a miracle. But the question is, do you believe it? Do you believe that you have something to offer to the world? Here's an answer for you. If you didn't have anything to offer to the world, you wouldn't be part of this world. It's as simple as that. You would not be part of this world. You are part of this world because you have something to offer to this world. What you have to offer, first and foremost, is your own light. It's your vibration. It's not the vibration that you deem yourself to be based on your analytical thinking. It's beyond that. It's the greatness that is contained within you. Remember, you're a miracle worker. You're a miracle maker. The universe, God, whatever you want to term it, has created you for a reason. There's a reason why you're here. So stop believing that somehow you're not enough. You're fully equipped with everything that you need in order to share what you've come here to share. The question is, do you believe it? Because if you don't, you're going to hide. And you're going to hide the very things you brought with you to share with the world. You can be the greatest healer in the world. You can be the greatest speaker in the world. You can be the greatest inventor in the world. If you don't believe that, you're not going to give it a time of day. You're going to keep it somewhere in a box hidden away where no one can see. And what a waste would that be, to come into this world fully equipped with everything that you need in order to make a difference in this world, yet you don't believe that you are here to make a difference. If you didn't make a difference, you wouldn't be here. Let go of fear. Notice the colors. Okay. Solar plexus. Okay. Any fears you have about being worthy of being one with God. I'm using the word God specifically today because the idea of God has been so bastardized. Our own understanding of God for many people is one of a limitation. Okay. So first and foremost, you might want to ask yourself, what do I deem God to be? Do I deem God to be this superior being? Remember, you're part of it. So if you deem God to be superior, then on some level, you too are superior. But the whole idea is that in order for you to be superior, there has to be something that's inferior. And there's no such thing. Do you believe yourself to be inferior? If that's what you believe, then that's how you will express yourself in life. On the other hand, if you deem yourself to be superior, you will have to put yourself on some pedestal, which means you will be looking down at others. It's neither good or bad, it's just a different way of seeing things and expressing life. You're neither or, you simply are. And what you choose to believe about yourself is up to you. So make it a conscious choice. Make it a conscious choice. Let yourself be seen for the power that you are, rather than the limitations you are holding onto. This is when your heart begins to heal. This is when you begin to see yourself and the universe as one. You are part of this creation. You're all part of it. You are not excluded from the God club. You are part of it. Whether you see yourself as that or not, that's your own understanding of yourself. And how you choose to understand yourself is up to you. Make it be up to you. And don't go for the awareness of who you are strictly to your head. Go into your body, go into your heart, because your heart knows. The truth is contained within you already. Head logic has a limited understanding. So if you're only functioning from the head and exclude your heart and the rest of your body for that matter, you will show up in limited ways. Don't limit your gifts by the way you see you. Instead, see you as Source sees you. As an extension of Source. That is how Source sees you. And therefore, if Source, being all-powerful, and you are extension of it, then you too are powerful, aren't you? The question is, do you believe it? And if you don't believe that, then what do you believe about yourself? That's what you want to ponder, pile number 2. Okay, pile number 3, let's see what message the universe has for you. We have the throat chakra, we have passion ignited, and we have ascended masters create open communication. So, like, it's all about speaking, channeling. Let me tune into each individual message, but I can already see what this is about. So obviously, throat chakra is the focal center for you right now. How do you hold yourself in terms of how you express yourself? Because the universe is guiding you towards a greater level of communication that you have with other beings, with ascended masters, with other beings of other beings from other star systems, beings from other galaxies. The types of being that want to support your own evolution and your own growth, and also support the evolution of planet Gaia, of Mother Earth. Okay? So number 3, pile number 3, how do you hold yourself back in terms of speaking your truth? Do you feel comfortable speaking about your feelings? Do you feel comfortable expressing what is true to you, or do you hold back and you have an aversion to conflict? Now, I would say most people don't enjoy conflict, but to not enjoy conflict and to run away from conflict are two different things. One is you're not enjoying something that needs to happen, and the other one is you running away from something that needs to happen. And if something needs to happen, something is going to happen eventually. So notice, where in your life do you have a tendency to run away from conflict? Okay. Where do you hold yourself back personally when it comes to expressing your views? And is there perhaps a part of you that feels that if you expressed your views, you are going to be rejected? Perhaps there's a part of you that's afraid of expressing the views or information that comes to you through you from other beings. You are likely someone who is a channeler, a public speaker, inspired writer, inspired speaker. It could also be through art and music, expression. This is very much about using your expression. They're asking me to speak about judgments. How do you express your own judgments of the world and your own judgments of yourself? How do you express them? Do you speak them out? Do you think them? And when you express these judgments of the world, when you express these judgments about yourself to yourself, how does it serve you? The message for you, pile 3, is judge less and be more. I'm going to give you a situation somebody commented on one of my videos. That if I were makeup, how does that make me spiritual? And that comment totally confused me. First and foremost, there was a judgment, number 1. Number 2, what does that got to do with anything? Absolutely nothing. And we have a tendency to hold a lot of judgments about other people, about their belief systems. We do. It's just a natural thing we do. But here's the thing. Judgments separate us. Judgments often cut like a knife. They're very sharp. I'm not talking about discernment. I'm talking about judgments like the one I just mentioned. How I choose to express myself or how you choose to express yourself doesn't mean that you are this or that. It simply means that this is how you choose to express yourself. If you happen to wear a certain type of clothing that makes you stand out, it doesn't make you a person of this or that. It just makes you someone who expresses yourself in this specific way. Likewise, when we look at somebody that expresses themselves in a certain way, do we judge them? Or do we say, that's an interesting way of expressing? Pile number 3, you are being asked to pay attention to your own judgments you have about yourself and the judgments you cast on others. And I will say that likely the ego is going to get its feathers ruffled when it hears that message, because the ego doesn't like to look at itself. The ego doesn't like to be wrong. But it's not about being wrong or right. It's about identifying what we do, consciously or otherwise, that keeps us separated. And we are moving more into a space of unity. What does that mean? Less judgments. Don't qualify people just because they say a certain thing or they express a certain thing. Likewise, don't qualify yourself as a certain person because you express certain thing in a certain way. Less judgment, more acceptance, pile number 3. And I feel this is message for across the board. I certainly find myself sometimes being in that space, and I recognize it's like, okay, don't want to be in that space, but I used to be in that space all the time without even knowing that I was in that space. But a lot of this has to do about your own judgments of yourself, how you qualify yourself, how you deem yourself, how you judge yourself. Are you someone who is very harsh about the way you look, about you in general? And if the answer is yes, then ask the question, why? Why do I hold so many judgments about myself? Why am I so judgmental? Now, it's neither good nor bad. We're not talking about if you're a judgmental person about yourself or others or both, that's good and bad. It's got nothing to do with good or bad. It's for the purpose of identifying how you keep yourself separate. And when you keep yourself separate, you also keep yourself separate from all that is. So if you have judgments, negative judgments about another, you are denying seeing their godliness in them. And if you're not seeing their godliness in them, you sure as heck are not seeing your godliness in you. And yes, our morals will come into play. If someone has done something horrible, you will have your judgments about it. That's almost natural and inevitable. But at the end of the day, whatever that person did or didn't do, their essence is part of all that is. So they're a spark of the divine too. When we judge, particularly harshly judge. I don't mean discernment, I mean judgment. We are refusing to see the God spark in that person. So then the question is, what's the point of that? Why would we choose to not see that? Why would we choose not to see that within the person that we're judging? Probably for the very same reason why we are choosing not to see it within ourselves. So here's the question for you. Why do you choose to not see within yourself the spark of your godliness? Because you have your judgments about it. So what are your judgments about yourself, pile number 3? This is Ace of Wands. It is a very inspiring message, a very inspiring feeling that tells me that you are opening up to some new opportunities, some new ways of being in the world. And I feel very strongly, if you're picking pile number 3, you are likely a channeler. So inspired writing, channeling, music writing, inspired speaking. This is very voice. Your voice needs to be heard, okay? The universe wants to express itself through your voice. You likely have a lot of universal wisdom, okay? And when you allow yourself to release judgments about yourself and others, this higher frequency, how do I say this? See, what happens is when you judge yourself harshly, I'm seeing it limits your throat chakra. It limits your vocal center. It limits your expression center. When you release judgments about yourself and others, you open that up. And when you open that up, you have the universe has a better time of channeling itself through you as an inspiration. Okay? So pile number 3, it's important for you to look at some blockages that are particularly stored in your throat chakra. Okay? Ascended Masters. Now, as I've mentioned already, this is likely a message for those of you who, you don't have to identify yourself as a channeler. I haven't for the longest time until I was advised that this is what I do. Channeling simply means you allow yourself to be a vehicle to higher consciousness. Okay? Or at least that is how I want to say. If you believe that you can't, or that you're not allowed, or that somehow you have judgments, negative judgments about channeling higher frequencies or higher consciousness, if you believe that on some level, if you practice channeling higher consciousness, you are not doing the will of God, you are doing the will of some other entity that's way lower vibrating, and that's all institutionalized ways of looking at things, then you're going to hold yourself back. I just heard Queen, oh my goodness. It's Kuan Yin. All right, I had to look it up. For some of you, Kuan Yin and Green Tara are the frequencies that I am picking up right now. And I'm hearing the word restitution. Restitution. Not sure what that means exactly. And it's about channeling around the idea or on a subject of restitution. So I don't know who you are. This feels very specific. But Kuan Yin frequency and Green Tara in particular wants to come through you. If you've never heard of this energy, You might want to look it up. And if you have, but you're like, well, wow, why would they want to channel through me? The answer is because you can. And so this universal energy wants to express its self and its knowledge and awareness through you. Here's the question. Do you believe that you can do that? What's coming up as well is, do you believe that you are worthy of being in this position? The obvious answer is yes. The not so obvious is, why wouldn't you be worthy? Aren't you the spark of what created you in the first place? Aren't you the spark of God, which makes you a spark of it? And if you identify yourself as anything less than that, you are living in a pool of your own limitation. And where is the fun in that? Why would you want to limit yourself? Why would you want to consciously limit your ability to create life in expanded ways? Chances are you wouldn't. So if you are limiting, and of course you are because you're a human being, then we need to look at, how do you do that? What are you expressing out of yourself that keeps you in a limited space? What do you say to you about yourself, or others for that matter, that limits you and that limits your ability to see others as the spark of godliness that is innately within them, as it is innately within you? Now, that's not easy to do sometimes, is it? When we look at something or someone who has done a lot of wrong, how on earth can this person be the spark of God? Yet it is. And source, God, whatever term you want to use, has no judgments about it. It just simply sees it as an expression of itself with its unlimited potential. It just happens that this particular self is choosing to express itself from a space of limitation. It's because there's ego involved. You are so much more than your ego. You are so much more than you identify yourself. You are so much more than the judgments you put on yourself and others. You are so much more than that. So start seeing yourself as that being, the being that is so much more than the judgments you hold about yourself. Start seeing yourself as that instead, and see what happens. This is when you will begin to see miracles taking place in your life. And even though they are taking place in your life already, you're just not able to see it because you're seeing it through your own limitations, through your own limited lenses. Perhaps one of those lenses is that I am not enough, very similar to pile number 2. The universe wants to express itself through you. Kuan Yin, it's coming in. Whoever this is for, I would love for you to comment because I don't often get that energy. And this particular energy wants to express itself through you. Will you let it? How will you know if this message is for you? If you're open to it, say, okay, universe, I'm open. You'll know. You will have coincidences hitting you in the face. You'll know. All you have to do is release your judgments about it and just let it unfold. So that's what I have for you, pile number 3. Again, if you are wanting to see the 2023 predictions for each zodiac sign, they're over an hour long each. That link is down below. I would love to see your comments. And I hope this message was helpful. Again, if you would like the extended message of my powerful channeled message on miracles and our own godliness. There's a link down below. Click on there and get yourself signed up, and you'll receive something in your mailbox very shortly. Until then, I wish you a wonderful day, wonderful weekend whenever you're watching this, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.